ladies and gentlemen. You know, these babies that are born addicted to opioids are showing all kinds of signs of long term harm. So there's a lot of physical problems, mental problems, emotional problems, behavioral problems that are cropping up in these children. And, the way I see it, it is another group of children that will ultimately end up in special ed. You know, they are also seeing signs that these children cannot keep up in the classroom under normal circumstances. So they're going to have to come up with a special class for them, or just straight up put them in special ed because they are not keeping up in class, not like they should be. So many of these children are starting off their life addicted to opioids. And, I was reading a couple of years ago, it is one of the hardest addictions to beat, even for babies, because it takes them longer to get past all of the symptoms. And what I mean by that is when they are born addicted to the drugs, they can show symptoms for up to 6 months. You know, that's a long time. And, back in 2014, 2015, it was 6 out of every 1,000 births were women using opioids. And that is up from 1.5 per 1,000 just a decade before. So these addicted babies go through withdrawal. They said they cry excessively. And the condition is neonatal abstinence syndrome. And these children show breathing problems, tremors, fevers, and other symptoms that can last up to 6 months, according to the March of Dimes. Now, opioid use among pregnant women is on the rise. It's also causing preterm births and low birth rates. And the long term look of this whole thing, it's a lot of problems now. They're calling it conduct disorder. I call that behavior problems. Emotional disturbance, attention deficit, hyperactivity disorder. These are what these children are showing as they're going through school. And as preschoolers, those children were more than likely to show slower than normal physical development. And also, ladies and gentlemen, because I did a video on this probably about a year, maybe even a little longer, where these children that are born, abused, with addiction to opioids, they have smaller head sizes. And that right there tells you there's going to be all kinds of issues with their behavior and just learning, and even them being able to focus long enough to learn. It's going to be a yeah, it's going to be a huge problem. You can see it already. So, what is not clear is the extent to which mom's opioid use is directly responsible for the long term problem. I would say it is. I mean, that's a powerful narcotic. And you got a baby handling, their bodies can't even process a lot of things at that point. And you're giving it heavy narcotics. Yeah, I would say it is. Women who abuse the drugs during pregnancy often use other substances too, like alcohol, cocaine, and tobacco. And then there's always issues, especially if you're living with an addicted mother, if the child is going to have enough nutrition on a regular basis as they're being raised. That is a good issue to raise. So, people need access to treatment for various types of substance abuse, while efforts to prevent opioid abuse should confront the social and economic factors that help fuel it. More than 130 Americans die every day. That is low. It's way higher than that. There's no way it's only 130. Woo, they don't want to tell the truth. They don't want to tell the truth. Um, all right. And also remember that number is not all 50 states. Just always remember that. Illegal opioids like heroin and illicit manufactured fentanyl have become the biggest concern in recent years. Still, prescription opioids like OxyContin, Vicodin, and Percocet were involved in 35% of the opioid overdose deaths in 2017, government figures show. So, most heroin abusers start out with prescription opioids. Yeah, that's very true. New findings are based on more than 8,500 mothers who gave birth at Boston Medical Center between 1998 and 2016. Just over 5% of the babies were exposed to opioids in the womb. Over time, the number of newborn with NAS rose from 2% of births in 2004 to 6% in 2008 and hovered around 3% by 2016. Around preschool age children who have been exposed to opioids had twice the risk of conduct disorder or emotional disturbance. It's behavior problems. Why do they keep trying? Never mind. And were 80% more likely to be slow in reaching physical development milestones, the study found. At school age, they had twice the risk of being diagnosed with ADHD. Yeah, I bet they did. You know? Wow. The consequences are not just during pregnancy and childbirth. He said adding the opioid abuse is not an isolated problem. Addiction to multiple substances is an issue. Yeah, it is. But see, this society only focuses on, what, meth, cocaine, opioids, fentanyl. They single out drugs and they don't talk a lot about people using these drugs in combination, which is very common. Okay, ideally, he said opioid abuse should be caught and treated before pregnancy, but doctors should also screen pregnant women for substance abuse, he said. The gold standard treatment for opioid abuse involved medication, including methadone. Yeah, well, I mean, that's, so they treat drug addiction with drugs. That's how America prefers to do it. I guess they don't like the Russian way, which is cold turkey. That's how the Russians do it. They don't give you nothing but a few aspirins and you tough it out. But I see a problem with these children, and I know they see it too. And you're going to have a generation coming up that's going to be kind of slow. I mean, you see it's happening right now. These children are entering school and they already see all kinds of problems with these children. And I'm not surprised. Like I said, you give a baby some harsh narcotics before they're even born, because the mother is an addict and those drugs are passing right through to the baby. So, yeah, I said all along there were going to be long term effects. And sure enough, But please tell me what you think, ladies and gentlemen. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.